So, Greg, Everton drew 1-1 away at Aston Villa at the weekend. What did you make of the game?
I thought it was an improvement. It was certainly better than the game against Bolton at Goodison earlier this month, which was probably a real low point in this new second half of the season. But it was a very, very poor evening. It was an improvement on the performance against Tamworth. And while it wasn't all guns firing, and Villa have been in a poor run of form themselves, I thought a point away was a fair result. And there were signs of promise for Everton, particularly with some of the players that we got to see. And I think it bodes well for visitor Blackburn.
So, you mentioned some of the players there. Who was it who stood out for you in the in the draw?
Yeah. Primarily Landon Donovan. He's come and really hit the ground running, which is exactly what Everton needed. He seems very fit. He'd not long finished the MLS season, and he's translated his fitness from just finishing and basically having a 2-week break, coming straight over here. And whilst he hasn't scored yet, he's come into a struggling team, and his performances have still been full of energy. And I think we'll see more from him as the weeks go by. He's only here for a short amount of time. It's only 8 weeks in total. So by the end of February, he'll be heading back to the States. But if Saturday's anything to go by, he's already justified David Moyes' decision to bring him back. He had a fantastic burst of pace and pass for Everton's equaliser, and I predict he'll get on the goal sheet before the end of his time and leave with a similar popular kind of hero status like he did last time. So he was a breath of fresh air and really did help them. David Moyes sent out a very attacking team in his defence as well. He's often accused by some supporters of not being as adventurous as they would like. But the team on Saturday, away from home, had a nice balance and certainly a lot of attacking, in theory, a lot of attacking flair. And Donovan spearheaded that and was probably the best player on the pitch.
Also, an Everton youngster coming through, another Everton youngster coming through at the heart of the defence.
Yeah, Shane Duffy. Shane's an interesting one because I don't think anyone expected him to be sort of necessarily breaking into the first team at the moment, and clearly when you've got Jagielka and Distan on the side, Shane wasn't even making the bench, or if he was, it was infrequently, and then he'd been shipped out on loan to a League One side, Scunthorpe. So it seemed, if you spoke to some of the coaches at Finch Farm, that he was developing alright, but he certainly wasn't a Premier League player yet. But opportunity can come at all different times for a footballer, and especially at a club with a squad the size of Everton. You've just got to take it when you can. He was thrust straight into the action against Spurs when Distan came off and did well. Didn't show too many nerves and just seemed to translate, sort of the fact that he's played with some of these players before. He's played for the reserves for a while now under Alan Stubbs' tutelage, and he did well against Adebayor, which is a big ask on your debut. And then on his full debut on Saturday, he was obviously facing Darren Bent and Gabriel Agbonlahor, and they're a handful for anyone, especially the pace of Agbonlahor, and he did well. He was talked through the game by John Heitinger, which obviously helps him having a Holland international alongside him. There were things he probably could have done better, but for a 20-year-old who's still learning, certainly at this level, I think it was a really solid full debut. He'll probably be kind of talked through Villa's goal and things he might have done better in that, but I certainly wouldn't think there would be any criticism of him for that. Particularly, the ball came whipped across, and it probably should have been dealt with by two Everton defenders before it came to Shane, and he didn't get his header quite right to clear it, and it fell to Bent. But I would say it was a promising full debut, definitely, and it's nice to know that once again the academy has produced someone who can go in there and do a job. It really is a lifesaver, Everton.
So what did you make of the other new boy in Darren Gibson? How did he fit in?
Yeah, Darren Gibson fits in well. You could tell he was short of match fitness. He hasn't been playing regularly for Manchester United, and that showed. He was off the pace, but he looks an improvement or a new type of midfield player for Everton, rather. I was going to say an improvement on what they've got, but they've got some very talented midfield players in the likes of Marouane Fellaini and Jack Rodwell. But Gibson gives you a different type of player, and I think when he gets that sharpness and that mobility back, he'll be a really good addition. There were times in the game that he was playing 1-2s, give and goes, and didn't really look like he had the legs to do the go part of it. He wasn't making the run for the other player, but I think that'll come. He surprised me with his tackling part of his game. I didn't think that he had really. A couple of really hard, fair, clean tackles on Stephen Ireland. And when he got over it, maybe initial nerves, he gave the ball away a few times early on. He started to show a good range of passing as well. We didn't see any of his shots that we've heard a lot about, these long range howitzers. But I'm sure that'll come, and it was a promising debut. And I think, like I say, with match fitness, you can only get better.
And possibility of another new arrival, as you say. Everton have got a player in on trial this week.
That's right. Yeah, they're finalising getting a guy called Edson Buddle over for trial. I had a chat with someone at Everton about it last night, and he's apparently not in Merseyside as we speak, but he is on his way over. The fans probably aren't going to be sort of overawed with enthusiasm and excitement about this. It's a very low profile move, and it's purely a case of David Moyes taking the guy over, watching him and seeing if he's lives up to probably some of his scouting reports. We've got to keep it in perspective. It's not the big name striker that everyone wants as good as him. He's a 30-year-old. He's been playing. He made his name for LA Galaxy over in the States. He shares an agent with Landon Donovan and Tim Howard. But since January last year, he's been playing in the second tier in German football. So it represents, as usual with Everton's budget, someone who'd probably be quite cheap, and they'd have to take a risk on. He had a great goal scoring record for LA Galaxy, almost a goal in every game. Goal in every other game rather. He's tall, he's physical, he's strong, and it's one of these things that it can only be a winner. If he's not good enough after the trial, he goes back, everyone shakes hands and walk away. And if he can do a job, whether it's short term, then why not give him a chance? Everton got success in the past by taking an American forward who played for the US national team, like Buddle has, in Brian McBride, and nobody was really sort of trumpeting that signing, but I remember Brian McBride had a very productive spell at Everton and scored some important goals. So if he can do that, it'll be a big plus. I know David Moyes watched him play for the US in November. He scored against Slovenia, and we've said for a long time they need someone who can put chances away. They've got different types of strikers. They've got workhorses like Dennis Stracqualasi, classy players like Luis Saha. At the moment, they've got no one who seems really capable of just finishing acceptable chances, apart from perhaps Victor Anichebe, who came back into the fold again on Saturday and did well from the bench. So let's give the guy a chance and see what he can bring.